What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of my Making a Murderer review. If you have not seen Making a Murderer, go watch Making a Murderer on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, get Netflix. It's worth it just to watch this one documentary series. It's absolutely crazy. If you haven't watched it, go watch that first, then come back and watch this. So where we left off on episode 2, Steven Avery was just getting arrested for the murder of Teresa Halbach. Episode 3 starts out with Mark Gundrum, founder of the Avery Task Force. Now, he's stating that it looks like there are a lot of things pointing to Steven Avery actually doing this crime. And he's right, there are a lot of things pointing to Steven Avery doing this crime, but how are those things getting there? Isn't it a little bit funny? Does not anybody realize the timing of all this is a little iffy? I don't know. At the same time Steven Avery is being arrested for murder, the Avery bill is passing. Like I said, the timing of all this is a little skeptical for me. The governor who is signing the Avery bill, Jim Doyle, states, "I bet they wish they had a different name for the Avery bill." The state then stops all efforts to compensate Steven Avery for the wrongful conviction that sent him to prison for 18 years for a crime he didn't commit. The depositions that were scheduled for November 15th were canceled. Those depositions were for the civil suit to get Steven Avery that $36 million. But because now he is suspected of this crime, they stop all that. They're just trying to completely get out of the fact that they framed this guy once. They don't want to pay anything. They don't want to admit they did anything wrong whatsoever. What a town. The prelim trial begins, and the judge for Steven Avery's prelim trial is Judge Patrick Willis. Teresa's cousin, Pamela Sternum, takes the stand. She's the one that found the RAV4. Tom Sturdivant, he is with the DOJ of Criminal Investigation. He's the one that found the bone matter at the burn site. He takes the stand. Deputy Daniel Karaski, he's the one that found the key in the bedroom next to a cabinet. Now, this is where it gets a little bit with the first signs of really suspicion, for me anyway, with especially during the prelim trial. He states that Andrew Colburn and James Lank were the ones searching Steven Avery's room. He states there were slippers in the way. They moved the slippers and found the key. Now, the lawyer asking the questions thought it was Daniel that found the key. He said it was actually Colburn and James Lank that found the key. And the first time they searched, when they moved the slippers, the key wasn't there. But it was there the second time they looked. Steven Avery wasn't even there. They were searching this place for 8 days without any of the Avery family there. So how did that key get there all of a sudden? It wasn't there the first time they looked, but it was there the second time they looked. Sherry Calhan, DNA technical unit leader, she has a profile from buccal swabs from Steven Avery that matched the DNA from the key that was found in the bedroom and the blood stains from inside the RAV4. The court determines there is probable cause and the case will continue. Michael Halbach says he doesn't believe the police did anything wrong. There is a $500,000 cash bond to have Avery released from prison for the duration of the trial. Of course, the family doesn't have $500,000. If convicted, he will serve life in prison. Now, Steven Avery is talking to his parents on the phone. Steven says he is giving himself 2 weeks or it's all over. They don't come right out and say this, but he's definitely, in my opinion, talking about killing himself, talking about suicide, and his parents tell him, I think his dad tells him not to be weird or strange. I think strange is the word he uses. And they also tell him that they're putting up the business for his bail, so not to give up. Stephen Avery says they're going to win anyway. Poor people lose. Avery Allen, Stephen Avery's father, says they definitely know how to make an innocent man guilty, of course referring to the fact that they did it one time before. Now, another interesting part, the people that found the key, Andrew Colburn and James Link, work for Manitowoc County. Now, if you watch the second video, the last video, they state that Manitowoc County was not supposed to be helping in the search because of what happened to Stephen Avery the first time, where everyone believes he was framed for the sexual assault. So they said that they were only there to assist with searching. If they needed equipment, Manitowoc County would provide that equipment. But the people that found the key in the bedroom work for Manitowoc County. They weren't supposed to be in there. They weren't supposed to be searching. Stephen Avery has to settle his civil lawsuit of $36 million in order to pay for the lawyers for his murder trial. He got $400,000. His lawyer fees were $160,000, so he got $240,000. In exchange, Manitowoc County doesn't admit any fault or liability for falsely convicting him and sending him to prison for 18 years for a crime he didn't commit. So because he settled the lawsuit, part of the lawsuit of the terms were the county not having to take any fault at all for what they did to him the first time around. Stephen Glenn, one of Stephen Avery's lawyers, no one is being held responsible for what happened to Stephen. Stephen says he had to settle to pay for his murder trial lawyers. On February 16th, 2006, Stephen Glenn tells Avery to hire lawyers Dean Strang and Jerry Budding. Dean Strang says there's no difficulty believing he could have been set up because of the situation the county was in. Jerry Budding says motivation for wanting to get him is very high. This woman went missing, referring to Teresa Halbach, and now we're going to make sure we get him, referring to what the town, for what they think the county of Manitowoc County is doing him. Chuck Avery, Stephen Avery's brother, says he saw lights on the road where the RAV4 was found, but said investigators didn't believe him. Sheriff Robert Herman, impossible to have that type of evidence at the scene to plant. Are you kidding me? Have you ever watched any trial that has had any corruption whatsoever? Of course you can have that type of evidence at the scene. I'll go back to one of the most famous trials of all time, the O.J. Simpson trial. Criminalist Dennis Fung. Now this isn't speculation, this isn't rumor, this is 100% fact. This happened. He was handed a vial of O.J. Simpson's blood at the crime scene. So of course you can get all kinds of stuff available if you, I'm not saying he planted evidence whatsoever, Dennis Fung. I'm just saying that that evidence is available to you. If you wanted to do such a thing, you can absolutely make it happen. March 1st, law enforcement calls their first press conference. Jerry Pagel says they have taken a 16-year-old into custody. Of course, that 16-year-old is Brendan Dassey. Brendan Dassey admitted his involvement. We'll get into that a little bit later. Ken Kratz says we will be releasing all of the specifics of this case to the media. Brendan's mother, Barb, says to Stephen, I hate what you did to my son. And in my opinion, them arresting Brendan, them going after other people in Stephen Avery's family is just a way to get someone to turn on him. Because Brendan Dassey was Stephen's alibi. So if they get Brendan to turn on Stephen, they got him. So this is their way of trying to get somebody to turn on Stephen so they can get the guy once again they want for the crime. March 2nd, 2006, Ken Kratz. They know what happened between 3:45 p.m. and 10 or 11 p.m. on October 31st, 2005. And this is where he starts to describe the scene. So if you don't want to hear in somewhat detail, skip this part of the video, but this is definitely a little bit more graphic than what the rest of the videos are. This is what Ken Kratz, the prosecution, states that happened at the crime scene. Brendan Dassey got home from school at 3:45. Got the mail. One of the letters was for his uncle, Stephen Avery. As Brendan Dassey approaches the trailer where Stephen lives, he can already hear the screams. Brendan Dassey knocks on the door. Stephen Avery opens it, dripping in sweat. Now, if you were committing rape and murder, would you stop to answer your door if someone's knocking on it? Brendan Dassey follows Stephen into the bedroom. This is from Ken Kratz, where he finds Teresa naked and shackled, begging for her life. Stephen invites Brendan to join the rape. Man, under the instruction of Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey cuts Teresa's throat. Okay, if this did happen, where's the blood? There was absolutely no blood found in the bedroom. How are you cutting someone's throat and having zero drops of blood found in the bedroom? This is some Dexter level cleanup. If you're able to do that, there's no way these two people are able to cut someone's throat and then have zero blood found at the scene. They found the key, they found bone, but yet they've perfectly cleaned up all of the blood? I don't think so. But again, back to Ken Kratz. But she doesn't die, so they drag her body outside, shooting her in the head and the stomach, and then burning the body. Man, everything aside, whoever did this, what a horrific crime happened to Teresa Halbach. Nobody, I'm definitely not taking away from what happened to this poor lady and this poor lady's family. It's absolutely tragic. But I think they need to find the right person that did it. But man, what an awful thing that happened to Teresa Halbach. Just disgusting. March 3rd, 2006 is Brendan Dassey's first trial appearance. The judge is Jerome Fox. Ken Kratz states they request a bond of $250,000 cash bail to have Brendan released. His lawyer, Ralph, man, nobody in this town has a normal last name for me to pronounce. Avery, that's it. Ralph Sujelski, Brendan Dassey's court-appointed lawyer, says Brendan's never been in trouble before. He hasn't been in trouble before in school with the law. His involvement was because he was threatened by Stephen Avery and thinks that bail is excessive. Innocent Project distances itself from Stephen Avery and he is removed from the website. Now, how small is this town? Brendan Dassey's court-appointed lawyer is related to Teresa Halbach, so he has to remove himself from the case. Did you not know that originally going in, that you were related to the victim? That's bonkers. How small is this town? Brendan's mother, Barb, talks to Stephen. Where did Brendan get all this shit from? Why would he say this? And then Avery tells Brendan's mother his version of what happened. And he states this like it's fact. He doesn't stutter over his words. He doesn't say anything. And I really don't think he's smart enough or intelligent enough to be able to come up with this and just off the top. So that's one of the reasons why I believe Stephen. His story is so, this is what happened as a matter of fact. He doesn't seem like somebody that could make something up and stick to it like he did. But this is what he says. Stephen Avery tells Barb, Brendan came over, they had a fire, and he was at home by 9 p.m. He knows Brendan was gone by 9 p.m. because Jody, Stephen's fiance, called him at 9 p.m. Jody was in jail, and he was already inside his trailer. Now, I don't know how this stuff works, but couldn't they find that phone call from the jail, or wouldn't there be a witness at the jail stating that Jody indeed called Stephen at 9 p.m.? Does that come up later? I don't remember. March 4th, Barb, Brendan's mother, goes to see Brendan at the Sheboygan Juvenile Detention Center. Brendan tells her they interrogated him and they made him say what they wanted to hear, meaning that the investigators just forced Brendan to say what they wanted him to say. Barb says she believes Brendan and that he had nothing to do with it. She believes Brendan's first statement, which came 4 months earlier, the day after they found the RAV4. Brendan said he had no contact with Teresa and had no idea what happened to her. So they forced him to change his story. March 6th, 2006, 5 days after Brendan is arrested, Stephen's fiance is released from jail, that's Jody, after 7 months for a DUI. March 17th, 2006, Judge Patrick Willis states the evidence against them is now greater than it was in the past. Ken Kratz adds 3 new charges to Stephen Avery: sexual assault, false imprisonment, and kidnapping because of the statements made by Brendan Dassey. The judge now will not allow Stephen Avery's parents to post the business as bail, and he increases the bond, the bail, to $750,000. Now, this is a line I love from Dean Strang, one of Stephen Avery's lawyers. I said that he looked like the Hamburglar in that jumpsuit. Dean Strang one-ups me here. He says, he's innocent as he sits here today. You can dress him up like he jumped off a Monopoly board, get at a jail card, come to life. But as he sits here today, he's innocent. Meaning, he's innocent until proven guilty. And of course, he's referring to the Monopoly board piece card because of the black and white jumpsuit that I cannot believe is real in Wisconsin. That they can't actually use that for people. Man, look it up. It's ridiculous. Stephen Avery says there's no reason for the judge not to accept the property as bail because innocent people don't run. And he's not going to run off on his parents anyway. Whatever he did, he loved his mother, he loved his father. He's not going to run and make them cause the business. I don't believe he would have done that anyway. Now, this next guy says something absolutely ridiculous and insane for something to say. We're back to Robert Herman again. If he wasn't released the first time, Teresa would still be alive. That's what he states. You mean if you didn't release him after serving 18 years for a crime he didn't commit, Teresa would still be alive? So you're just going to arrest people and keep them in prison for stuff they didn't do? This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And then Mark Gundrum states maybe it was good he was in jail all this time if he did this. If he did this crime he's doing right, that he's being accused of right now. Once again, maybe it was good he was in jail for a crime he didn't commit for 18 years. What if this was one of their kids who was accidentally railroaded by the police and spent 18 years of their lives in jail for something they didn't do? It could happen to anybody. So what if it was happening to them or someone they knew or their family member? That's something bonkers for them to say. Now, Chuck Avery is kind of, which is Stephen's brother, kind of changing the story a little bit. He says, I'm pretty positive in my head that he did do it, but only the two of them know what happened that night. So it seems like somebody's been talking to Chuck Avery, his brother, as well. Risa Evans, Stephen Avery's 1985 lawyer, says if he did do it, which I don't think he did. She states that it seems a little bit too sophisticated, and I agree, of a crime for Stephen to commit. But if he did do it, that 18 years in jail he spent for something he didn't do had a lot to do with it. That can definitely change a person. Absolutely. Jody, Stephen Avery's fiance, states that 2 weeks before she was released from prison, they came to visit her and police put pressure on her to turn against Stephen Avery. Brendan's mother, Barb, states, when Jody was in jail, she asked to not speak to Mark Weirgert and Tom Fossbonder anymore. And then 3 days later, they went after Brendan Dassey, her son. So they couldn't get Jody to turn, so they went to someone else to try to get them to turn. And if Brendan's a slow learner, so they knew they could get him. But if they didn't, they would have just went on down the line to the next person, guaranteed. February 27th, 2006, Mark Weirgert and Tom Fossbonder take Dassey out of school, question him alone. After they do that, they let him speak with his mother. Then they question him 3 more times without a lawyer present. Did they get permission? They must have got permission at that point to speak to Brendan alone. They must have got that from his mother, because there's no way after they spoke with her, unless she didn't know. That part's not made clear, or at least not made clear to me, that after they spoke with him the first time and then they let him speak with his mother, they do question him 3 more times without a lawyer. So did they have permission at that point, or didn't they? Dassey's confession, Brendan Dassey's confession, is something you need to go see. Go watch episode 3 of Making a Murderer on Netflix. It's horrible. It's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. They are 100% leading him. They mention facts first and then put them in his head. Brendan obviously has some sort of developmental delay, possibly on the autism spectrum. There's something there with Brendan Dassey. I don't know exactly what it is, but you'll see what I mean. The way they treat him, the way they're questioning this poor kid. They couldn't get him to say certain things, so they would just come out and state it, and then he was like, yeah, that's what happened, because he realized that's what they wanted to hear. He had absolutely no idea what was going on. He asked them, do you think I can get back to school for 129, I think it is? And they were like, what do you mean? What happens at 129? Oh, I have a project due. He clearly had absolutely no idea what was happening to him at this point in time. And then his mother asks him, did you do something wrong? And Brendan says, not really. They got inside my head. And like I said, go watch the interrogation. It's disgusting what they did to this poor kid. He was 16 years old. He was a minor at the time. Dean Strang, the episode ends with Dean Strang. Brendan Dassey describes this horrible, bloody crime, but there is no blood anywhere. Why is there no blood anywhere? Because it didn't happen. So that's where I'm going to end episode 3 of my Making a Murderer review. Drop some comments below. Let me know what you think of what's going on in the case at this point in time, up to episode 3. Drop some comments. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, share, all that great stuff. And I'll see you guys again soon with episode 4. Thanks for watching, everybody.